So every now and then and every once in a while, certain manufacturers with the latest iterations of their hardware manage to do something which is completely groundbreaking for the likes of cameras and microphones, which has a serious impact on how we vlog. Now, with the latest release of Samsung's Galaxy Z Flip 5, they've done fuck all like that because they're just relying on last year's same shit technology. Alright, YouTube, it's me, David Harry, your favourite YouTuber and vlogger. Right, so what it is, I've just come out to do my very first vlog with this Z Flip 5. I'll just call it the Flip 5 or Flip or Samsung. I'm bound to get something wrong as I'm talking, and I'm terribly inconsistent with how I name things. Anyways, yeah, so this phone, it's not terrible or not, by the way, but it basically isn't that much different than the Flip 4. However, the Flip 4 was a great little phone for its cameras, and especially for doing this stuff, you know, just off the cuff of vlogging and things like that. Anyway, what I'm going to do is just walk around the park a bit. I'll test, like, you know, different cameras and whatnot. But more importantly, I'm on the internal mics for this particular video. However, I brought out a radio wireless system. I mean, when I say radio, it is wireless anyway. I don't need to say radio wireless. Anyway, I brought out a wireless microphone, which I'll also be testing. Now, another thing that I'm going to be doing with this video is taking a slight departure from my usual frame rate. So I would normally shoot at 25 because I live in a PAL territory. However, for this video, I'm going to be shooting in 60 frames per second, but I will be in 4K. And hopefully this video is going to be really good for my YouTube bezzy, Mr. Ian Craig, because Ian always shoots at 50 and 60. So hopefully this gives Ian a really good idea of what the temporal resolution is like with this phone. Also, and as per usual, I will be shooting completely automatic. And the reason why is, like I always say, when you're out vlogging, you're going in and out of all kinds of weirdo lighting conditions and stuff like that. You really can't be sitting there going manual for every single take that you do. So what I'll be doing here is crazy stuff like this, shooting straight with like the sun right behind and all that kind of thing. And then I'll kind of like turn around quickly and let's see what happens here. So what I'm testing for when I do this type of stuff is to see what the general exposure's like and how things change or how quick they change, and to see what actually gets, like, you know, more kind of like, you know, in focus, as it were. Well, not in focus, but more in exposure with the auto exposure. But also to see what the likes of the white balance are doing and stuff, because when you move around like this very rapidly in and out of different types of lighting conditions, it will affect white balance. So therefore things like skin tone and stuff should go a bit mad. Yeah, it's gone a little bit mad. Not as mad as GoPro though. Now, I can't even remember if I've mentioned which camera I'm on at the moment. Well, this is actually the front facing camera. So this will be the one that you would typically use for the likes of vlogging and stuff, because you've got like a fairly hefty screen in front of you there in order for you to like get your framing correct and all that stuff. It's picking up a bit of wind there. Let's hope it's not wiping the microphones out. Anyway, as far as this setup is concerned, this is literally the phone just bare. It's got no case on it, got no wind protection, nothing like that. Now I'll just do a little cutaway here and show you the rig that I've got it on. So this is my usual like Ulanzi grip system, where the phone just gets gripped into that Ulanzi thing there, which is all like aluminium and stuff. It's really cool. That then in turn is connected to a pistol grip, and then at the bottom of that I've just got like a little pair of tripod legs. And the reason why I use these tripod legs is because if I happen to go somewhere where there's a flat surface like a wall or a table, I can just pop the whole thing down on top of a flat surface and everything's cool. Okay, so I've now switched over onto the rear lens here. Now I say the rear lens because when you're in 4K you only have the option of one of the rear lenses. I'll do a little bit of 1080 in a second just so we can see the difference between the two lenses. Now I'm assuming that this is the standard wide lens on the back, and then the lens that we don't get hold of here is the ultra wide when it's in 4K. It's highly likely that there's some kind of limitation to the amount of processing that the phone is able to do for the likes of, you know, stabilisation and stuff like that. Hence why when you're in 4K 60, it just may not be able to handle the amount of like width in the pixel dimensions and stuff when it's on the ultra wide. That's what I'm assuming is why, or that's why I'm assuming that is why we only get the one lens on the back. But nonetheless, anyway, this is the 4K sensor on the back, which I assume is wide. And what I'll do in a second, actually, I'll do some field of view testing as well. And also we'll do some testing for bokeh. But before I do that, I'm just going to drop down to 1080. Let's see what the difference is like between the two rear lenses on the back. Did I just say the two rear lenses on the back? That's mad, because if they're on the back, they are the rear lenses. Okay, so I've managed to work out what this weirdness is as to like what is defining the use of like either one or two of the rear lenses here. And it's basically the frame rate. So it's not even the resolution. So the thing is, if you're in 30 frames per second, you will get the option of both of the lenses in like any resolution that it's going to do on the rear. However, if you then flip over to like 60 frames per second, you completely lose the ability to shoot with the ultra wide lens. Now, that's a bit odd, because if it were down to processing like I just said before, then the maths doesn't work out correct for that either, because you should easily be able to process at HD 60 frames per second with any of these lenses if you can actually do 30 at 4K. It's roughly the same type of computational processing required due to the bandwidths. I haven't got a clue what's going on, but nonetheless, anyway, this is now at 30 frames per second in 4K, and this is the normal standard wide lens. Now let me switch over to the ultra wide. Okay, so this is now the ultra wide lens, and the phone is still roughly the same distance and position from me. So this is going to give us a really good idea of the difference between field of view between the wide and the ultra wide. I've really gone and walked in the wrong place here. It's been raining all day, right? And I'm just going through what feels like a bog or a marsh at the moment. Me trainers are going to be wrecked after this. Anyway, this will definitely give us an idea of what the difference is like in field of view, but also, and probably more importantly, what the picture quality is like. I mean, the thing that I usually find is like with the phones and stuff, when you use their ultra wide lenses, they are tremendous for the field of view. However, the picture seems to drop off quite considerably as far as detail and stuff like that is concerned. But nonetheless, that was these two lenses tested on the back of the phone. And just on the points of field of view and stuff here, I'm just going to do these kind of like static type shots here. When I say static, it's just me standing still holding the phone. And what we're going to do is just test to see what the field of view is like when we're looking at an open frame. So right now, again, this is like in 30 frames per second, just so that I can get the ultra wide camera. But this is the field of view from the ultra wide camera. Now I'm just going to switch over to the wide. Okay, so this is now over onto the wide, and as we should be able to see there, that should be quite a considerable difference within the field of view. Now what I'm going to do is flip over onto the front facing camera, and just in case it does any weird shenanigans once again to do with like, you know, kind of field of views and stuff when it's like at 30 and 60, I'm going to switch the front facing onto 30 frames and let's see what that looks like. Okay, so that's now over onto the front facing camera, and I've dropped it to 30 frames per second, still in 4K UHD as well. So just to be clear, all three of these takes have all been in 4K UHD, but obviously at 30. Now hopefully I'm actually pointing the front facing lens into the right direction here, just so that we know exactly what's been going on as far as the difference in the field of view is concerned, because obviously right now I cannot see what I'm filming. Actually, here's another test that might be interesting. Let's just see what the bokeh is like between the front and the back. Now I'm going to imagine that there is no bokeh on the front lens here, but when I flip over onto the rear wide, I think we should start seeing some bokeh there. So let me flip over onto the rear wide. Okay, so the rear wide lens, and hopefully we should see a little bit of bokeh going on behind me. Now if there is, it's actually natural bokeh. It's not computational or anything like that, because if it was going to be computational, it could be done on the front lens as well. And it's really odd because these are only tiny sensors, although they are fast lenses on the back. I can't remember the speed of them, but they are fast lenses. So maybe we shouldn't be so surprised that we do see a bit of bokeh if we do see it. I mean, we might not be seeing it because I can't see what I'm filming at the moment, but I am assuming that there is a bit of bokeh there. And the reason why I say that is because I know that there is on the S23 Ultra. So the S23 Ultra actually has a ton of bokeh depending upon how bright it is and like what the camera settings have automatically gone to. When you're on the wide on the back of that thing, it's actually quite awesome if you're into bokeh. However, for anybody who watches my stuff, you know I'm not really into bokeh because I would rather have everything kind of like completely in focus for when I'm walking around doing my vloggy stuff. Okay, so I'm back over then onto the front facing camera, 4K UHD, 60 frames per second to end the video. Okay, so hopefully I've done like enough bits and pieces in this video to give people an idea of certain things. And don't forget, this was specifically for vlogging. So if anybody was like looking to see some amazing cinematic footage like my ass, that didn't happen in this video, and it'll never happen in any of my videos because I don't use the term cinematic, okay? And the reason why I don't do that is because do you seriously think Steven Spielberg sits there when he's making a film and he says to the DP, make it look more cinematic? I don't think he does. Anyway, yeah, so this was all vlogging, as we can see here. No kind of like testing the camera for like, you know, serious critical wide shooting and stuff like that. However, if anybody is into that type of stuff, I'll have a crack at that at some point as well if people want me to try it out and stuff. Anyway, yeah, I think I'll just run the risk now of starting to talk even more crap the way I usually do. So I'm going to get off, and hopefully you found this video useful. Oh yeah, as far as the audio is concerned, I'll put on the screen right now, yes or no. Did I just like knock this down to a single microphone out of the two in post? Yes or no? Bing! So that'll tell you exactly what I've done with the audio, and it will have been limited in post, but nonetheless this audio was all done on the internal microphones. I'm David Harry, thank you very much for watching this video. Take care and goodbye now.